What's up, everyone? Welcome. Sunday Night Live. We're finally back after a week off. And just want to start off by saying thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. That is very kind of you. Today is my 30th birthday, March 1st, 1990. And yeah, I'm really happy to be spending it with my family today at home and here on YouTube with you guys. It's crazy. 30 years old. I can't believe it. Wow, already some top chats. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. Let's see. Justice. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Jason, happy birthday. Thank you, man. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your knowledge and passion with us all. I appreciate it, man. Tonight's going to be about an hour-long stream because I have been informed by the powers at be that we have dinner plans tonight, and I don't know what they are or where they are, but I only have a certain amount of time to stream tonight, so that's why we're on a little bit early. There's a discount code in honor of the birthday. It is 30% off everything in my store. That's the Kemper Profiles, the Helix presets, the merchandise. Everything is on sale, 30% off. The discount code is birthday30. Birthday30. So, yeah, if you want to pick something up, pick up a t-shirt, coffee mug, whatever. It's a great way to support the channel. 30% off today. Frank, thank you, man. Appreciate it. So I want to talk to you guys about some stuff tonight. I have a topic, as you probably saw from the thumbnail. Ryan, thank you, man. I appreciate it. So I want to start doing some videos on budget gear. This is something I've gotten some requests for in the past from some of you guys, and I'm going to start doing it. We're going to start doing some budget gear based videos, and I think I'm going to team up with Sweetwater to do it. I have some ideas. I'm not quite ready to share yet, but I wanted to come on the live stream tonight and talk to you guys about what are you interested in seeing? What do you think the best budget gear out there is? What do you want to see highlighted on the channel? And then, like, nothing is off limits. Pedals, amps, guitars, recording gear, all that stuff. So, thanks everyone for the birthday wishes. A happy birthday from India. Right on. That is great. Also, I want to shout this out. So, this is my new Mule resonator, and this was a birthday gift from my mom and dad. They reached out to Matt Ike, the man who builds these up in Michigan, and moved heaven and earth basically to get this thing built, and it is incredible. I was completely blown away to get this, man. I'm really, really lucky to have the family that I do, and how supportive they are and how supportive they've been in my time as a musician. And I wouldn't be doing this without the support of my mom and dad and my sister and my wife. So yeah, I just feel really, really lucky and really fortunate and really privileged. But yeah, a really good resonator is something I've always wanted. And I've been a big fan of the Mule stuff, the Mule Resophonic stuff for a long time, and this is such a beautiful instrument. It's actually a tricone. I don't know if you can see there. It looks like a biscuit cone, but it's a tricone, and it sounds incredible. I'm in love with this guitar, man. So yeah, I can't believe it. Anyways, so back to the subject at hand. Let me get caught up in the comments. So again, huge thanks to Matt Ike from Mule. He moved heaven and earth to get this thing put together. And it is a really, really beautiful, beautiful instrument. If you guys don't follow Mule, you should check him out. He also built like the Mule that or the guitar that Ariel Posen plays. He built. I think Joey Landreth has a couple of his guitars too. They're so sick, man. So sick. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk budget gear. What are you guys interested in seeing? I have some ideas, but I want to hear your ideas and what you think. Budget multi-effects pedals. Noel, I like that. Okay, so let's throw some specific things out there. What do you think in the budget multi-effects world? Are we talking like the Boss GT1000? Budget recording gear. Budget pedals, Line6 Pod Go. Cheapo old solid state amps. Yeah, man. Also, if you're new here, welcome Sunday Night Live. We do this pretty much every Sunday. If you have a question, it's basically a low-key Q&A. So if you have a question, you can tag me in the chat, or you can submit a question via the top chat, and it'll highlight it. And, yeah. Behringer Fuzz SF300 Top Fuzz. Uh-oh, did I miss the top chat here? I think I did. Let me scroll back. I think I might have missed a top chat. Oh, no, I don't think I did. It's not showing up. Okay, no, I'm good. We're all caught up. The best budget bourbon, Brian? Okay. All right, so real deal, like, budget bourbon, if you're in a pinch and you need a bottle of something that's decent. I'll be honest, Jim Beam ain't bad. It's, not the best thing out there, but it's pretty good. If you can get into like the $35 to $40 a bottle range, which is pushing budget per se, but it's kind of mid-level. I'd say Basil Hayden's is my go-to in that range. Bullet Rye, even though technically that's not bourbon, but Bullet Rye is fantastic. Four Roses is also really good for the price. But hey, man, any port in a storm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are saying budget recording gear. And actually, the reason I wanted to bring this up tonight was so this mic that you're hearing right now, you're hearing the guitar come through this, along with my Zoom mic here. But this was sent out to me by a company called Roswell Audio, and they call it the Mini K47. I don't have any affiliation with these guys. They just sent me out 2 mics on loan to check out. And this kind of gave me the idea of, like, why not start talking more about, like, the budget stuff, especially in the recording gear. Frank, thanks for that top chat, man. Your stomp suggestions have really helped me with my live rig. Right on, man. Yeah. I'm glad. It seems a lot of people were able to get some good stuff out of the HX Stomp video, I should say. Subi, Roswell makes some nice stuff. I'd never really heard of them before, but this is cool. It's like a little miniature. I guess it's supposed to be voiced like a U47, and things like this big. It's real small, so yeah, you might be seeing a video of that popping up soon. Why don't you start your live feeds at the top or bottom of the hour? There's more consistency that way for all your viewers. Well, because normally I do them a little bit later, and today I was on a bit of a time crunch, so I had to get back to the house, get the live stream all set up, and it just worked out best for 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So consistency is not my strongest suit. Okay, Harley Benton. Nicola. Okay, so that's a good question. The Harley Benton stuff is pretty intriguing to me. Being from the States, we don't see a lot of the Harley Benton things. But maybe it's worth, like, ordering some stuff to try out. I think one thing to decide, though, is, like, what is budget? like what constitutes in pricing wise, you know, from cheap, because there's a lot of gear out there that's just like cheap, and I'm not interested in talking about that stuff. I want to talk about like really good gear that is not that expensive and is accessible for a lot of people. So like price wise, what is that for a guitar, for example? If we're talking about a budget guitar, are we sub $1,000 US? Are we sub $750 US? Are we under $500 US? You know, Jason says sub 1,000. J Bognap under 500. Sub 500. Sub 1,200 or less, CS Taylor says. You know, in the guitar world, we're talking stuff that's like Squier Affinity Series, Epiphone, Harley Benton, possibly. Maybe some of the import like PRS stuff, depending on what that is. So a lot of people are saying between sub 500 or sub 1,000. Patrick says 300 to 800. I think that's a pretty good range to be in. Tech FB, thanks for the top chat. Played through Bad Cat Classic Deluxe, which is the vintage Class AB circuit. What simple attenuator box would you recommend purely for master volume control? That's a really good question. So if you're looking strictly just for volume control, well, no, I would still recommend this guy. This is, and oh, here it is. Now, for years, I never had an attenuator because I never liked them. I always thought they felt terrible. I played hot plates and a lot of the old school attenuators. But last year, I bought this. The Tone King Iron Man 2 Mini. Paid full retail for this thing. And this is probably the best attenuator on the market. Like, period. There's two versions. The Mini, I think, will handle up to, 40 or 50 watts. Don't quote me on that. Look that up. And there's a full-size version for 100 watt amps. But this thing is amazing. It sounds really good, whereas it doesn't roll off a bunch of top end when you attenuate, which a lot of attenuators are bad at, especially the UA aux. That'll probably come up in a video at some point. But this is great. It has a DI out. You see that line out there, which is great for running to like a cab sim pedal or an impulse response loader. And it has a solo boost feature, which is really cool. It lets you basically, so for instance, let's say I've got it set here and there's a high-low switch. Okay, so zoom in. Right now, if it's on the low switch, then I'm attenuating, this is hard to do. I'm attenuating minus 10 dB, okay? That's the inner ring. If I go to the high switch, I'm now attenuating minus 7 dB. And then if I hit the solo control, now I'm attenuating minus 4 dB. So essentially what you could have is like, you could have it set up there for your gig. So you're attenuating minus 10 dB. And then if you want to take a solo and really step out in the gig, you just step on that. And now you've jumped up to minus 4 dB of attenuation. I love that. I think these go for like $300, $350, something like that. But they're incredible. So that's the attenuator I would recommend. All right, so what did we decide on budget here? Manuel, thanks, man. Happy birthday. Thoughts on Fender Jaguars? Jaguars are cool. Actually, my friend Jessie Wilson just got a Squier Jag. She's learning to play guitar, and her first guitar is a Squier Jag, which is awesome. Am I still happy with 9s on my 335? I am. Definitely still happy with 9s. I think the Gibsons, like the Les Paul, for example, really benefited from 9s. Hera says under 500. All right, so it seems like it's a split decision on the budget guitars being $1,000 or under versus 500 or under. But that means that there's a pretty good range to work with, right? Like, depending on what it is. What are my thoughts on Reverend guitars? Well, so that's the thing, right? Like, that would be the point of the video series. like getting my hands on a Reverend guitar and making a track with it, like doing my typical gear video thing where I make a track and show it and talk about it. And then maybe the thing with this series is we just give it away when the video's done. We'll do giveaways. Because I really don't need any more gear. I mean, this space is very small. Don't get me wrong, but yeah. So for me, it's below $500. $1,000 is your first good guitar. Tom, got a Novo because of you, and I love it so much. Thank you. Congratulations, man. The Novo stuff is amazing. Definitely not budget, but it's amazing. Look up Monoprice. Yeah, shout out to Monoprice. I've got a bunch of Monoprice cables back there, and they're awesome. Wursler, Eastman might be slightly over $1,000, but still great value. Thoughts? I completely agree. So Noah had a few Eastman guitars. He still has one. And if you don't know about Eastman, they are a Chinese company, but they're not... When people typically say, like, oh, it's made in China, there's kind of a connotation alongside that, right? Like, of being cheap, mass-produced crap a lot of times. Eastman is not that. They are, like, an actual, like, company of fine instrument manufacturers who happen to just be based in China. And the Eastman guitars are really, really good. And they can be had for not much money. Like, to get an equivalent of an Eastman, like, they do some kind of Gibson-type stuff. And you'll easily pay double for a Gibson as you would for the Eastman equivalent of what Gibson does. My buddy Ross Campbell, who's also here on YouTube, if you don't know Ross, you should check out his channel. He's an incredible guitar player. He's a big Eastman fan. I think he has a couple of them now. And yeah, so I like the Eastman stuff a lot. I don't have any affiliation with them at all, but I really like the Eastman stuff. Whole rig, $500-$600. Amp, pedals, and guitar, something you could actually do a gig with. Thanks for that top chat, Ryan. Okay, $500 rig. That is guitar, amp, and pedal board. That's tough. That could be a cool video, actually. That could be a really cool video, but we'd have to decide on some ground rules, okay? So the ground rules would be, does it have to be new gear or can we go used? I would be inclined to say go used, because you could get a lot more for $500 to $600. Damien says 500 is not enough. That's real tight. Subi's got a good recommendation. Mustang Soul Food. Yeah, I think that would be kind of where you're at. You're at like a really entry level guitar. You're at a really entry level amplifier, and maybe $50 left over for a pedal. Maybe 500 is not enough. I don't think $1,000 is more reasonable. If you could be in that giggable rig for $750 to $1,000. Thanks, Shay, for the birthday wish, man. Appreciate that. Let's see. Bill says he can do any gig with just a Squier, Bullet, Telly, and a Fender Mustang 1 amp. I mean, yeah, it just depends on the type of gig that you're playing. And it depends on the sounds that you're getting. I think you would be, for that money, you would be in a Squier. Like, you could get a Squier Affinity Series, Telly or Strat, which are great guitars, I think, for the money. The amp is going to be the hard part. Joe, thanks, man, for the top chat. I'd love to hear about sub $800 to $1,000 tube amps of all sizes. Want a gigging/recording amp. Willing to spend more, but wanting to know what options are. Okay, that's a really good question. I love amplifiers. Tilly and I were just talking about this yesterday. Amps are my thing. I really, really love amps. So $800 to $1,000 for a tube amp. Well, actually, did you say tube amp? Yes, you did say tube amp. Okay, cool. So $800 to $1,000. I would recommend going used because you're going to get more bang for your buck from a used amp. And I would lean more towards the $1,000 mark if you can swing it. If you can get into that territory, then you need to decide stylistically, like, what are you doing? Okay, so are you looking for an amp that is just a clean pedal platform? Something that takes pedals well, maybe has a decent reverb. I'd tell you to go look for like a used deluxe reverb reissue could be cool. Any of the used like Fender reissue stuff except twins. I can't stand twin reverbs. That's just a personal thing. If you want something that's got some breakup or some gain, Vox AC15. That is a killer amp you can do a ton of stuff with. Or if you can find an AC10 combo, those are really good. Rick Beato has one of those, and I use it all the time when I go over to Rick's. It's amazing. I don't know if you could find an AC30 for $1,000. I don't know. Where's my phone? I have to look up on Reverb and do some stuff. Blues Juniors are always cool. You can pick up Blues Juniors all day long for... You could pick up a Blues Junior used for $350 to $400, put a new speaker in it, do a few mods to it, and put a better reverb tank in it, and you'd have a solid amp. Also the Bad Cat stuff. So like behind me, this Bad Cat, that's a Cub 40R. New, I think that amp is $11.99. And that's an amp I want to do one of the budget videos about, because that's a pretty much a boutique amp, right? I mean, Bad Cat is a boutique company. They've been around for a while, and it's not a true boutique amp in the sense that it's not hand wired. That's a printed circuit board amp. It's got a digital reverb instead of an analog spring reverb, but it sounds amazing, and it's got a really great master volume on it, and it's got a really cool feature where you can switch the preamp section between 12AX7 and EF86. That's a killer amp. For the money, that's probably one of the best amps out there for the money right now. It's the Bad Cat Cub 40R. It's the USA Player Series. So the Player Series is their like printed circuit board versions. The downside with PCB amps, with printed circuit board amps, is long-term maintenance of PCB amps is going to be tougher, right? One of the main reasons I would tell you to buy a point-to-point or hand-wired amp is longevity. Hand-wired amps like this Morgan, or like this Divided by 13, or the high watt that's on top of it, pretty much any amp tech who's worth their salt will be able to service, repair, and maintain a hand-wired amplifier much more easily, and I think for less money over time than a printed circuit board amp. Now, there is a case to be made. Amps like this, printed circuit board stuff, or the Fender, deluxe reverb reissues, or the Tone Master deluxes, all those amps, my buddy Dave Honorato says, like, look, those are basically big lighters, man. You buy them, you use them, you gig with them, you play them till they break, and then you basically toss it and go get something else. I could see not everybody being that way, but he's got a point, right? If you're spending a budget, it might just be cheaper in the long run when an amp like a deluxe reverb blows up. You just toss it and go get something else. I don't know. Depends on what you're looking to do. But if you could find one of these used for $1,000 or spend the extra $200 and get one new, that's probably what I would recommend. That was a long-winded answer, but I like amps. I'm sorry. Riley, what do you recommend for a college dorm room rig that is still giggable? HX Stomp? HX Stomp could be cool, but the problem is if you're really going to gig it, you need a cabinet. And so that means you're going to buy something like the Power Cab from Line6, or you're going to get a power amp and a normal guitar cabinet. depending on what your budget is, man, I would look at one of those Deluxe Reverb Tone Masters, the solid state versions. I think those are great amps, and you can attenuate them down to basically, well, you can basically turn it off. You can turn the speaker off and go DI, or you can crank it all the way up to full power, which I think is 200 watts on that amp, and fill up any club you would ever need to play. That's probably what I would tell you to do. And it only weighs 24 pounds. So, Joe, thanks for Top Chat, man. Follow-up, you mentioned Blues Junior. What speaker, reverb tank, and other mods would you personally do, and would you rather do that than a deluxe reverb? So I actually have a Blues Junior that I've modded. And the first thing I would do is swap the speaker. And that's personal choice. I think a good place to start with that would be a greenback, a Celestion greenback. Go on eBay, although maybe I shouldn't tell you guys this because it's going to jack the prices up. When you're shopping for Celestion speakers, you want to buy a UK-made Celestion, which they don't make anymore. In a box over there, I have a UK-built greenback. It's used, but I bought it on eBay about a year and a half ago just to have it, to save for future whatever. I can drop it into any amp I have. The UK stuff from Celestion sounds better than the stuff they're building now, which is pretty much all Chinese made. Still love Celestion speakers. I just think when you're looking for new speakers, go on eBay and try and find the UK made stuff. Warehouse guitar speakers are also really good. They're more budget. I think they're also made in China, but I really like the warehouse guitar stuff. So I'd swap the speaker out, put something like a greenback in it. And then the mods for a Blues Junior to do are the tone stack mod, which is really easy. It's just jumping 2 different pads on the printed circuit board. Like, you could literally do it, you know. Okay, hold on. Let me just quick disclaimer, so I don't get sued. Tube amps are insanely dangerous. Okay, do not go open your tube amp and like sticking your hands in there, because you will shock yourself, and depending on how big or powerful the amp is, you could potentially kill yourself. Do not crack your tube amp open, because you saw me talking about it on my live stream. Say, well, Rhett says it's cool, I'm just going to swap it. Don't. If you've never worked on a tube amp before, take it to an amp tech. If you're going to mod an amp, take it to an amp tech. Don't hurt yourself. Don't kill yourself. The reason tube amps are dangerous, and if my dad's on the stream, he's an electrical engineer, he can chime in here. Capacitors, tube amps, like most electronics, are full of capacitors. Capacitors hold voltage. When you turn a tube amp off, even though there's not power flowing through the transformer, through the circuit, there's still charge held in those capacitors. And depending on the amp and the circuit, there can be enough charge left in those capacitors to where if you touched one of those capacitors, it would basically dump that voltage to ground, which is basically through you. So don't do it. Yeah. And if you do get shocked, don't sue me, because I've given you a disclaimer. But anyway, back to the mods on the Blues Junior. The tone stack mod, I think, is a must. Adding a presence control is really cool. A really cool thing to do on those amps. Really opens up the control over that. And then swapping the reverb tank out. There's like Mod Kits DIY, I think, does a really cool reverb tank. There's a bunch of different tanks you can get, and just that's an easy mod because it just plugs in. So you unbolt the original tank, put the new one in, and plug it in. It's 2 RCA jacks to do it. So yeah. Andrew, thanks for Top Chat, man. You like to see a video on the Katana 100-212 combo. You use one, and I'd like to see how you would dial one in. That's a good suggestion, man. I played a gig 2 weeks ago with Noah. We played some honky tonks, and one of the guys in the house band who played before us was playing one of those Katana amps, the 100-watt 212, and it sounded really good. I was genuinely impressed with the tones he was getting out of that Katana amp. It was great. Yeah, please, guys, don't hurt yourself in your tube amps. Just take it to an amp tech. Ever thought about getting an out-of-phase sound on one of your guitars to achieve a Peter Green or Albert King sound? I did, actually. Let me show you. I've actually done it now, so stand by. So some of you may not have seen this guitar because I don't play it on the channel very often, but this is my PRS. It's a 2008 CE22. This is the guitar that got me through music school. So it holds a lot of sentimental value to me. And it's a nice guitar. Plays great. And a few months ago, I took it over to Ben Calhoun at Righteous Guitars, and he just basically reworked it. We put 2 new pickups in it. So that's a, what is that, a 5708? Yeah. That's a 5708 in the bridge, which is from a Custom 24. And then this is a Santana in the neck, which is really cool because it sounds more like a P90 than a humbucker. And then Ben did his own wiring mod to this. He just did it. He was like, hey, I'm going to do something to your guitar. Just trust me. I was like, all right. So we have a coil tap here on this push knob, which is cool. So you can see it's push, tap, push, back down. And then this is an out of phase. Same thing, push, push. But that's an out of phase. It only works in the middle position. And so you can have, normal middle position sounds and then hit that button, and then you've got the out of phase like Peter Green, Albert King thing, which is really cool. And then we put lampshade knobs on it because why not? These are sleeper guitars, man. If you can find one of these old CE 22s or CE 24s, they're bolt neck. They're not through neck. But I want to say I bought this guitar in 2010 when I was going to music school, and it was $1,600 new in 2010. And yeah, so if you want a PRS, like an American-made PRS, it's the same body shape and contours. It's like a Custom 24, Custom 22. It's just bolt neck. And yeah, much less expensive than the custom stuff. Let's see here. The Lark is coming soon, I hope. Can't wait. Yes, the Larks should be shipping relatively soon. We've had some holdups with the circuit board manufacturer in China because of the coronavirus, unfortunately. I hope everyone there is okay, because that sucks. But yeah, the Lark should be shipping soon for everyone that's bought one. Ever heard of Sierra Tone amps? They're hand-wired clones for less than $1,500. I have, actually. I actually thought about buying at my local Guitar Center last year. There was a used Sierra Tone. It was like a Steel String Singer clone. I think it was like $1,200. Kind of feel like I should have bought it. Thoughts on the Supro line? I think the Supro stuff is, in terms of their amps, is some of their stuff is really good and some of the stuff needs some work. It's weird. Like, I've played some Supros that I really liked, and I was like, man, this is a great amp. And then I've played one, I think it was the Comet, like the combo or whatever, and that amp sounded terrible. It was so dark that it was unusable. Like, it was just unusable. With the tone control all the way up and playing my brightest guitar through it, it was just still too dark. So I think their stuff's hit or miss. I haven't played any of their guitars, so I can't comment on that, but yeah. How am I getting on with the aux box? So I think I'm going to do a video. This is on loan from Rick Beato. I basically just took that from his studio a couple weeks ago. And I played 2 shows with it, and I've been using it to record. So my last 2 videos that I've put up, I've played tracks in both of those videos. And every single guitar part in those videos was going through the aux, was an amp going through the aux. I think it's fantastic for recording at home. It's an incredible tool for recording. The amount of different things that you can dial in. Oh, did I miss a top chat? I'm sorry. Hold on. I think it's great for recording. I don't think it's a good gigging solution. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Torrance. Okay. Tips to keep your Jaguar trim arm to stay where I put it. Strat springs don't fit, and the thread tape wears out after a while. Ooh, that's a really good question. Your Jaguar trim arm won't stay where you put it. Are you mean in terms of like when you let go of it, it kind of swings back down, and then you pick it back up and use it, and it swings back down? You know, with Strats, I've always just kind of tightened them right before they get as tight as they'll go and they lock up. And then I back it off one turn. And that usually holds it in place. So maybe you could try that with the Jaguar trim arm. I'm not super familiar with that style of trim. My Novo Ceres J has a Mastery trim on it, but that's not a threaded arm. That's a press fit, friction fit arm. Am I playing in the UK soon? I don't have any dates in the UK coming up yet. John Hurt, surgical tubing. That could be a good idea. That might work. Nolan, where did I go to music school? I went to a school here in Atlanta called Atlanta Institute of Music. It's now called Atlanta Institute of Music and Media. So it's AIMM. But when I was there 10 years ago, it was AIM. And it was great. It really helped me out in getting a career started and being able to gig and stuff. Is using an Iridium and HX Stomp overkill? Yeah, I would say so. Any thoughts on the Two Notes Captor versus Auxbox? I don't know yet. I have a Captor on the way. Two Notes is sending me a Captor. I've not played one yet, but I'm gonna compare the two. Because I think it's a really relevant thing to talk about. I mean, a lot of people are switching to things like the Aux and the Captor. So, thanks, Ron. Appreciate that, man. Any plans on coming to Dallas, Riley? Possibly. Dallas is one of those markets that we'll probably end up getting to at some point this year. Either with Jesse or with Noah. Let's see here. Give me recommendations for a good Echoplex pedal under $200. If you could pick up a used Echo, well, that's an Echo Rec, like a Benson Echo Rec. I think you can get an Echoplex pedal, and you can pick those up used. I think, is it MXR that makes it? Yeah. Ooh, okay. Sasha wants to know, what do you like about Novo guitars? That's a good question. So, I'm a big Novo fanboy, as probably most people here on the channel know. I talk about their stuff all the time. I have 3 Novos currently. And I really like what Dennis Fano is doing with that company. I like the people there. First and foremost, I just love the guitars. The guitars, for me, they're the right shape. They look amazing. They sound incredible. They all feel amazing. If anybody here has played a Novo or owns a Novo, you know what I'm talking about. They just ring, man. They're so good. And then aside from that, I really like the people in the company. I like Matthew. I like Dennis and Devin and everybody there. It's a small company. It's like 15 or 20 people. That's the entire company. And honestly, like, they're not interested in selling a ton of guitars to make a ton of money. Like, genuinely, they're not interested in that. They are interested in making the coolest, best guitars that they physically can. And that's it. That's all they care about. Every time I go up there, I sit and talk to Matthew, and every conversation we have is, and with Dennis too, it's just about how can they make the guitars better? What new pickup and color combinations can they do? The new shapes that they're working on. So that's what it is. It's a combination of the guitars and the instruments are really, really great, and the people behind the instruments are really great. And I love that. And that's a company that I want to support, and a company I want to talk about, and a company I want to work with. So, anyways. Logan, what's my signal chain for recording bass in my videos? It's a good question. It changes from time to time. I actually use the Kemper a lot for bass. I have a couple of bass profiles that aren't mine. I downloaded them from the marketplace years ago. There's a B15 and an SVT profile that I use on my Kemper. And honestly, most of the bass tones I've used for videos have been the Kemper. It's perfect for that. More recently, I've been experimenting with going DI. So this right here, let me unplug it. I'll show it to you. All right, so this is the Zod Audio DI. This is made by a friend of mine up in, I think he's in Minneapolis, named Dan Derlot. Guy makes these. This is a tube DI, so I wish you could feel it. It weighs probably 12 pounds, I would say. So it's got some heft to it. Basically, there's a bunch of transformers, some really beefy transformers, and a few tubes in here. And this thing is incredible on bass. It's great for synthesizers. Basically, any mono signal that you're going to record DI. You can record DI guitars through this, and it's really good. Subi actually has one of these, if Subi's still in the chat. Rick has one. He's used it on records for years. That's how I found out about them. This is great for acoustic guitar, too. So if you're ever like, if you play acoustic guitar live, like maybe in church, or, you know, you're a singer-songwriter or something like this is a really cool option for acoustic guitars. Now, it's not the most practical thing ever to tour with, because it's a big, heavy, giant metal box, and like it needs a case and everything. But yeah, it's really, really good. So I use that a lot for bass. I'm tracking DI. Let's see here. Tom, what's my favorite really weird pedal that's out of the ordinary? I will show you once I find it. I made a video on it, and it is this. The Beatronics Swarm. This is a gnarly fuzz octave harmony thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but I love this pedal. It's so weird and it's so crazy. It's one of those things that's not perfect for everything, but when it is the right call, it's awesome. I'm a big fan of the Beatronics stuff. Again, that's the same kind of thing as the Novo thing for me. It's like with Beatronics, those guys, they're really, really cool, down-to-earth, humble people that are just interested in making really cool musical equipment that inspires people to like play and make music. And I'm behind that. Would I ever use the Swarm for Jesse's gig? I've actually thought about it. I think I might be using it for Jesse's stuff. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it, man. What's your favorite guitar apart from the Novo? probably my 335, because it has a ton of sentimental value to me. When I graduated music school, my mom and dad bought me that guitar as a gift, and it's been with me on almost every like gig and session. Every major gig and session I've been able to do, that guitar has pretty much been with me on. So it has a ton of sentimental value to me. Aside from that, I'm really digging that Firebird that I have on loan from Gibson Custom Shop right now, that pink Firebird. That thing's really cool, man. I didn't think I was a Firebird guy, but I think I am. So, do I like Tele Deluxes? I do. I really like Tele Deluxes. John Pratt, wet dry or stereo with parallel delay and verb? If you're gigging, neither. If you're playing a live show, I think you should be playing mono. If you're just sitting at home and messing around with different sounds and stuff, I guess just regular stereo would be cool, but I don't mess around with like the wet dry stuff. Let's see here. Tilly Burst, well, the question was, aside from the Novo stuff, what's my favorite? So, thoughts on short scale basses? I really love short scale basses. My friend Phil plays one of the Justin Meldal Johnson signature Fender Mustang basses, and those are sick. Bill Hart Davidson, it seems like between playing with Jesse and playing with Noah, you have a good balance of styles and also role/creative input. Is that how you feel about it? I would agree with that. Jesse and Noah are like completely different musically and stylistically, and I have a lot of creative input and leeway in both of those projects. I can kind of be me, which is really cool. And that's why I like to play with them. Timo, thanks, man. What's a great multi-delay analog drive-through you can use? I would say the Strymon Volante. Probably my favorite all-around delay pedal. What do you think about the Victory amps? I'm pretty new to the Victory amps. I've only played a couple. I think they might be sending over is it the Sergeant or the Sheriff, whatever their Marshall clone is. I think they're going to be sending over for a loan for me to check out. And that's one of those companies that I wanted to get in touch with because I know a lot of people are really interested in what they do, and I just hadn't had an experience with them. There's not a lot of dealers over here. In fact, I don't think there's any dealers in Atlanta for Victory stuff, so I hadn't had an opportunity to play it. But yeah, I want to check it out. When does the new Noah stuff come out? Nobody knows. I don't think Noah even knows yet. There's a lot that goes into the release of a record, man. There's a lot that goes into the release of music. It's not just like recording it and putting it out. And I feel like I maybe should do a better job of explaining that or highlighting that in those videos and those studio vlogs that we do. Because it was funny the amount of comments that video got. It's like we were in the studio recording these songs, and I posted the video like 2 days later, and there was a lot of comments. They're like, "Great, where do we download it? Where's the album? Where's the music?" It's like, that's not how it works, man. These songs are like probably months away still from being released. I mean, Noah still has to do recording vocals and overdubbing acoustic guitars, and then they all have to be mixed and mastered. And then once the song's done, or the group of songs, the album is done, then it's like the real work begins, because You have to figure out distribution. You have to figure out publishing. You have to figure out, how are you going to promote the music? Because what you don't want to have happen is you spend all this time and money on an album just to release it, and it like evaporates into the ether because people don't know about it, or the industry doesn't know about it. So that involves meetings and signing deals with publishing companies and publicists, and developing a release strategy and developing a publishing or publicity strategy. I mean, there's really a ton that goes into it. So realistically, I have no idea when that music's going to be released, and I think Noah doesn't know yet. But my hope is sooner rather than later. I mean, I think the earliest, realistically, you would see that group of songs released would be early summer. But who knows? Really want to see you and Noah live, but you live in Manchester, England. I could see us coming through Manchester at some point. Carmine, you have a middle school music program and have had visiting musicians and even Skype Josh Smith. Would you be interested in volunteering? Talk to your students about music. Yeah, send me an email, Carmine. Ooh, Jazz Rudy. Any signature guitar worth the hype or price? Well, not all signature guitars are expensive. I'll be honest, man. I think the PRS Silver Sky is worth the price. That's a really great Strat. It's a Strat, obviously. And I have a John Mayer signature Fender Strat that I've had for years. I bought it, now they're crazy money for those things. I bought it, I think I paid like a little under $2,000 for it or something almost 10 years ago. I bought it used from a guy in Texas. And I think, man, for $2,300, that's a really good Strat. Just a really, really great Strat. I would also say Jared James Nichols' signature Epiphone, that Blues Power Les Paul, the black Les Paul with the P90 in it, that thing is sick. That's a really, really cool guitar. Also, the Ed O'Brien Strat. I was looking at those a few days ago because I saw Ed was on That Pedal Show, and I was watching his episode on That Pedal Show. And yeah, I think that's a really cool Strat. That might actually be in my future, just because it's like, it's out there, it's weird, it does some cool things with the sustainer pickup. It's kind of a unique sort of utility guitar to have, I think that would be cool. What's a great budget alternative sub 1300 for an Axe Effects? I would say used Helix. If you can get a used Helix or Helix LT. The Helix and the Axe Effects function in a similar way in terms of like how you set up signal flow with the blocks and the effects blocks and the amp blocks and everything. They are similar in that way. Man, I'll just say, like, the Axe Effects is the Cadillac of the modelers. It's like, I think, the best sounding modeler out there. I think Kempers are capable of sounding as good, but the Axe Effects are way better than the Kemper stuff. Kempers are great for guys or players who are traditional tube amp and pedal board players and they want to switch to the modeling world. I think the Kemper is like the easiest thing to go for in that world. And that's what I love. I mean, that's what I love about that. It's like, it works like an amp, and it'll do all the crazy modeling stuff and everything if you want. But if you just want something, it's like, okay, I'm on a gig and I need a tweed amp, I need a matchless, and I need a Dumble and a Marshall for this gig. You just get a Kemper, The Axe Effects 3, and I'm going to do a video on the Axe Effects in the next couple of weeks. it sounds incredibly good. Like, honestly, it's astonishing how good it sounds. Now, it's the most expensive thing in the market, in the modeling market, so it had better sound as good as it does. And the reality is, it's not for everybody. I think the Axe FX is like, it's a tool that was designed for professionals. I mean, that's really what it is. And that's not to say that, enthusiasts shouldn't buy one. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, by all means. But it's really designed as a professional tool for gigging and for studio stuff. And so a lot of the features that it has built into it are built for like engineers and, people who are dialing in rigs for massive tours and everything. Like, that's really what it's for. Where the Helix is as well, but the Helix I see is a little bit more of like a prosumer kind of grade. The Helix stuff sounds great, and I've gigged with my Helix a bunch, and it works really, really well. It's a little easier to use. It's a little more intuitive than the Axe FX is. I do think the Axe FX has the edge on audio quality, though. I mean, it sounds really, really good. So. Ryan, thanks, man. Have another drink. I'm going to stick to the one scotch. Somebody was asking earlier, this is a Highland Park 12 that I'm drinking right now. Samuel, I love this question. Expensive guitar or expensive amp? Always go with a better amp. 100% of the time, go with the better amplifier. Guitars absolutely have an effect on your tone, and the quality of a guitar has an effect on your tone. But I think what's more important with the guitar is like finding a guitar that makes you play and feel really, really comfortable and makes you feel at home. A great amp will make any guitar sound great. A truly fantastic amplifier will make any guitar, no matter how cheap or expensive, as long as you can play and you know how to play, a really great amp is what you should go with. So if if you had a budget of like, let's just say $2,000 for a really good guitar and amp, I'd say spend $1,500 on the amp and $500 on the guitar. That's what I would do. Have I ever tried stacking compressor pedals? No, I haven't. I'm not a huge compressor user, so it's not something I ever would have done. How would you deal with cheap backline with little money? Well, I have dealt with cheap backline a lot. Honestly, if you're dealing with really cheap, terrible backline a lot, I would tell you to just buy a modeler. My recommendation would be to get an HX Stomp or an Iridium. If you're a traditional pedal user, get something like that you can put on your board. Or you could go full modeler, get a Helix LT if you're on a budget. Maybe get a used Kemper if you can find one that's in your budget. That'd be a really good option as well. And just avoid the backline altogether. Let's see here. Opinion on Line 6 Pod Go. I haven't played one yet. I checked it out at NAMM, but I think I'm going to try and get my hands on one, and it'll be part of this budget gear series. I need a name for this series, by the way. Bang for your buck. Budget bang for your buck, something like that. I don't know. All right, everyone. We've got to wrap it up. We've apparently got some kind of birthday dinner plans for the evening. So, thanks everyone for hanging out. This is a short stream tonight. Next week we'll be back to normal. If you're new here, thank you for checking out the live stream. Thank you for checking out the channel. Remember, everything in my store is 30% off with the discount code birthday30. And thank you everyone for the birthday wishes. I really, really appreciate the support and, all the love and everything you guys show. It's really, really, really cool. It's very cool. So I really appreciate it. Plexico, Ghetto Gear. Maybe. Not exactly PC. So anyway, thanks everyone. And I will see you all next week for Sunday Night Live.